I think you shared some highlights out there, which was very, very insightful. So the schools are a lot, as we all know. The schools are a lot. There are a lot of schools, universities, colleges here in Canada. But to make the right choice is sometimes difficult, right? So personally, I looked at, let's say, three or four things. The supervisor fit and then the program quality. Yeah, so I looked at the program, how best does the program fit me? And then also the funding, very, very important. Very, very, very important. You look at the department that you want to study in. Do they have opportunities like TAs, RAs? And even if they don't, is there opportunity to work on campus as a student to make some money to help you pay your fees and all of that? But tuition is, I mean, the funding is very, very, very key, right? And then also, I can't go without saying the immigration path. It's quite clear and then straightforward. It's not easy though, but I mean, the path is there. If you follow, you will succeed, right? And I mean, there is this thing called PGWP. I think Nana Osei can actually speak more on that. I'm sure he is a beneficiary right now. After school graduating, whether a program is 2 years or even one, you are eligible to apply for the post-graduation work permit, which allows you to work in the country for, I think, 3 years. And a lot can happen in 3 years. To me, even in a year, a lot can happen to change your status and all of that. So you have that kind of flexibility to think. You are not really in a rush to continue right after school. We rush into another master's program or maybe PhD. You kind of have some time to think through and all of that. And then also, thirdly, the environment. So specifically for me, it was a program. I am reading food, agriculture, and resource economics, right? And my school, I wasn't really concerned about the general ranking, although it was also a motivating factor. When it comes to Canada here, specifically Ontario, my school is the heart of the province's agriculture, right? Ontario Agricultural College. And the Ministry of Agriculture is actually situated inside the school. So it has a very strong industry connections. I mean, the government is actually has eyes on the school, right? Because all the research that brings about development in the country's agricultural sector, it starts right from here. So the global ranking is ranked number one here in Canada, and I think 29 globally on all of that. So these are the three things that I looked at: the supervisor and then the program fit, because the research is going to be your life in the 2 year stay here in Canada. And to mention, if you want to be funded, the program should strictly be thesis based. We have course-based programs and then thesis-based programs. My program like this, we have students in my class who are doing just the courses, and they are not funded. They are paying their own fees, about 8,000 per semester, which is not easy. Yeah, so if you want funding, you should consider the thesis-based programs. And if you want to consider thesis-based, then it's about the research supervisor. I didn't have to secure a supervisor before I was accepted, right? But you also have to look into that as well. Maybe some schools does, some schools do not. So that supervisor and program fit, make sure you have been accepted into the right program. The funding, very, very important. And then life after school, you can't go without it. Where will you go after school? Are you going back home or you want to stay? And which country makes it flexible for you? So I think these three things made Canada stand out for me. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Philip. I think we you shared some important insights. The most important, since most of us here are economic students, we have to remember that the program fits is you don't just go and apply to an MA economics program because you want to come to the US. You have to make sure that it fits with your research interests and with what you are doing. As he just mentioned, his research. His focus is on agriculture. If you are someone who is interested in monetary policy, you can't just go to an agricultural school because it is not doesn't fit with your interest, right? And also funding. Funding is very important. I mean, without funding, you cannot survive. In the Canada or in the US or anywhere. So we have to make sure that we take note of that. And lastly, last 2 weeks we spoke about choosing a supervisor, and we mentioned that for economic students, likely for us, we don't have to secure a supervisor before we get funding into a program. And it is important that you also mention that part. So we'll go on to Nana say and ask him about building a competitive application. So since Philip has mentioned or has taken us through how to choose schools, how do we build a competitive application when we are applying to Canada? Speaking about the CV, GRE, what should we do? Do you have anything for us? Thank you.
So the whole application should be thought of in a holistic kind of view. When you want to apply to something as important as school, something that will impact your life for the next 5 to 10 years, your career in many years to come, you need to plan long term. So I'm sure Marzuk, you knew I had been talking about this way back when we were in undergrad. So it's something that you'll be planning towards. So you know your GPA would be important. Your CWA in our context will be important. So you kind of take your courses seriously because you have a bigger goal in mind. You know the kind of courses would also be important for the kind of master's program you want to take. So you also have that in mind. I personally also did some volunteer work, took some courses in data related stuff, all of this in order to have a competitive application, um, so that when I come here, even for TA ships, I am well aligned for taking up TA roles that are in relation to some of these things. When I came here, I served as a TA for econometrics for about 2 years. And so it was based on all these things I say are long-term, planning and all. Um, in putting together a competitive application you would have to write a letter to IRCC. We do not do interviews here. So, um, aside having an application to the school, which the things I mentioned will tie into. So for the school, you would have to connect what you are doing with what you seek to do in the future, right? So maybe you took these courses because you kind of have this career path you want to follow, or you kind of want to do research in this kind of path, right? Which will make you a competitive applicant. A similar thing goes with applying for the visa here with IRCC. You would write a statement of purpose where you would also let them know how the things you did in Ghana tie into the course you would want to do in Canada and how it would affect what you want to do in future. So I'd say these are the things that come together to make you a very competitive applicant. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Nana. I think we that is really helpful. I think the planning aspect is the most important of all that I think you mentioned. You have to plan. Even if you are in first year, you have a goal of studying abroad in future or Canada or US. You have to start planning as soon as possible and taking your academics seriously. I would like us to continue, but there was a question about nursing. I don't know whether you guys know anything about that, but I mean, expect to ask you guys if you know anything about opportunities for nursing students in Canada. Either Philip or Nana will say if you can help with that.
Yeah, okay. I would like to share something about that as well. I think for the program, the process is the same, right? The application process is the same. So whatever Nana said specifically with economics is the same thing. Why you want to study the program? Why do you think it's a good fit? Career-wise, how is it going to help you and all of that? Funding is also available for nursing students, so it's quite the same, but it might be different. I think probably would have to secure a supervisor for that one. I think I can tell. I know a couple of guys reading nursing related and health related programs here in Canada, so it's possible. Every school has its own strength, but then these programs cut across. In general, you can get every program everywhere. So the process is the same. The application procedure is not different for economics or nursing or geography or anything. We all go through the same process. And I just want to reiterate what Nana said. Your CWA or GPA is very important. Like, it doesn't make you talk plenty, right? I completed 2022, as we all know, but then I started school just 3 months ago. I was able to put something down, like something I can follow, right? Grade that anytime that I pull it out to apply, it can make me stand out. So even though I didn't get the opportunity right after national service or something, I made sure I have something that I could follow. So the grade is very, very, very important. So right from the onset, if you have plans to study abroad, I think you should just kill it. I mean, get, I'm not saying first class or anything, a decent class. First class is fine. Second class upper, okay. Yeah, but if you really want to study and make the journey smooth for you, just aim for something big. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip. And you mentioned something very important. You said not first class, but I will say first class because recently I had a conversation with someone and I was talking to him about how a particular course was very difficult to get an A. And he told me that if he said the effort that I'll put in to get B is almost similar to the effort that I'll put in to get A. So why not go for A, because the
Yeah,
same
I
thing. So
mean,
if
yeah,
you
yeah.
can
The
get second
strength
class
varies,
upper,
right?
then I
Yeah,
believe
the
you
strength
can get
varies
first class.
actually.
Yeah,
Oh
try
yeah,
and put
yeah,
in
yeah,
a little
yeah,
bit of
yeah,
effort
yeah,
and you will surely get there. Yeah, so thank
yeah.
you. And lastly, with the nursing, when it comes to US, there's an exam that they write here. We call it NCLEX. I don't know particularly, I don't know whether there's the same thing in Canada, but we have the Economics Weekly group and we will put in any further information that we get regarding MSc in nursing in Canada. So
Okay.
let's continue.
Yeah,
I would like to
I
go
want
back
to
to
also add up to what he said, Philip.
okay.
Yeah, he said something about getting funding for the nursing program, and it is true. I have a friend here who is doing like having funded, and it comes from what exactly Philip also said again about thesis or course based. If the nursing program has a research aspect, it's very important to understand that usually the funding comes from having this research aspect. So you doing a course-based nursing program might not necessarily come with funding. So you would have to pay out of pocket. But those who have some form of research attached to it, they are able to secure funding. Do you get me? Yeah. And the end clicks you spoke about for the US, the one thing I've realized is that for North America, there's a bit of overlap in terms of Canada and US. And you find out that we take the exact same course and the same test for nursing in Canada as well. They also take the same NCLEX to be certified to work in Canada as well. So that is something to have a look at.
Okay, thank you so much very much. Thank you so much, Nana. And I'll come back to you regarding the most important question that we have here, which is the visa application journey. So, can you walk us step by step through your Canadian visa study process? When you got the admission, how did you end up getting the visa? Can you walk us through that? Thank you.
So I think I mentioned a bit about it earlier on. For me, even I didn't know that this was how it was. But what I have heard is that if you want visa, you do an interview. So that's what was in my mind. Only to find out while doing these school applications that for Canada, when you get a school, you do not do an interview, but rather you put everything on paper and then uh, some an officer would go through your documents and see if you are a good fit. So, as I said, you would write something, a document. It's called statement of purpose or letter of explanation, and it's basically tying your now to your past and your future and how Canada fits into that. So you are saying you are an economic student, you are saying you want to work in terms of this career path. So how does Canada fit into all of this? Then you link it to how you have gotten school and how this school would play a role in fulfilling your career goals, right? Another document you would also have to put together would be the uh, one about your finances, right? So you would also make a short write-up stating how you would be able to fund yourself for the first year. Usually they only ask you about your first year, and they've revised the amount, and Philip can correct me if I'm wrong, but right now you're supposed to be able to have about 21,000 Canadian dollars to support yourself during the first year. And if you are funded, it makes it easier to show some of these things. So that's the second thing you would have to prepare a document stating where you get money to fund yourself throughout the school, pay your flight ticket, and all of those things. And then after you do that, they have a portal, an IRCC portal for Canada. You upload these two documents in addition to other documents that are very important, like your passport and all those things. You upload them and then they get back to you depending on the processing times. They get back to you. For me, my processing time was 2 weeks, but in recent times it has changed. But yeah, my processing time was 2 weeks, just 2 weeks. Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. Philip, the same question to you. Did you like did your processing time differ from Nana, or it was just the same? Or maybe
Yeah,
what
yeah,
was yeah.
yeah, quite significant. Mine took a bit longer than expected. Yeah. I think Nana I think I'm aware he did certain things to make the process quite seamless. I think there is an aspect of the visa application process that's very, very important, medicals. I think it's the same everywhere, right? Every country wants to find you medically fit before you can enter into the country. So with a Canada visa application, you have the opportunity to either do an upfront medicals or wait for IRCC to request for it formally before you do it. I think I know I did an upfront medical. I think I know that well. Am I right?
Definitely, you are right. I did
Yeah,
it upfront
yeah.
before they asked.
So if you do an upfront medicals, right, and you are deemed to be approved, it makes the process quite shorter because the very first time they reach out to you, it's either you are being refused or go and do medicals, right? So if you are meant to be approved, the very first time you're going to hear from them is going to be go and do your medicals. And I also got that message within 2 weeks, as Nana also did. Yeah, so if I had done my medicals, it would have been visa approved in that very 2 weeks. Yeah, but because I didn't do upfront medicals, I was waiting to get the request from IRCC. So within 2 weeks, I also got the medical request. But then after medicals, it took quite some time. Yeah. So after medicals, I think I had to wait for about a month and some 2 weeks before I got the final approval. But once you get medicals, they say you are about 99% sure that you're going to be approved. So in 2 weeks, I knew I mean my future, how it's going to be. Yeah. It was
The
just a
future
matter
was
of
bright, right? You knew that
yeah.
your future was bright.
Yeah. And then to talk about visa refusal, I think Nana say was fortunate. It was just one time for him. But I've been refused in the past and it is very
Oh, for
difficult.
Canada? You refused for Canada?
Yeah, I think 20
Oh,
last year. Yeah, last year I was refused.
oh, I see. Was it the
And
same school?
no, yeah. So that is why it's very, very important to apply to multiple schools. Although we try to narrow down our search, right? And then our scope. At least you should get about two, three schools in your baskets, depending on your financial strength. If you can apply to more than two, that is fine. But unfortunately for me, I did just one school last year, which I repeated the same mistake this year. I was just lucky. Right. So the school that I had gave me funding, and the funding wasn't that enough was about 80%, and even 80% of tuition, not 80% of the entire study cost. So I had to go above and beyond to show that I have enough funds, right, to support my visa application and all through bank statements and other means. I think what was the major setback could be my time of application. I applied very late. I think in May also. May is actually the peak time to apply, but I think I applied very at the later part of May. That is when I did my application. And then also, it was later that I realized the bank statement wasn't that strong. Looking at the inflows and the outflows, it wasn't that consistent, right? So I realized it was also an issue. So the second time I had to apply real quick. And then also I applied to a different school as well. Although the first offer was there, I had to defer. I had the admission and the funding in place, but I needed options. So I had to apply to a different school, which I applied to the University of Guelph, to the agricultural program. I got a very, very good solid funding compared to the first. So in my second application, I didn't use the previous school. I used the University of Guelph, and it made the conversation easy because funding was good. I also understood the dynamics of bank statement because I was working in a bank by then. So I was able to kind of use the very good bank statement to apply, and it was successful this time. But then the entire process from application to approval took about 2 months, and I
2 months.
think, yeah, 2 months, and yeah, 2 months, 2 weeks, yeah, 2 months, 2 weeks. But within 2 weeks, I knew I was going to pack my suit and move. But the final say came in 2 months. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
we thank God. So, guys, I mean, you don't expect to have the same, application uh, timeline as everyone. I mean, but never give up. I mean, Philip never gave up. He had a rejection. I think we have some people here who have had one or two rejections, to Canada. But please, the advice is never give up. Expand your scope. Go above and beyond, as Philip mentioned. And hopefully, you are also going to get a very competitive, very strong funding, and your visa will be approved. So we have
Yeah.
to.
Can I
I
can
think
I
we have to
add
wrap up. Okay. Rana,
can
you
I
want to add
add up
something?
on
Yes, please.
the multiple um
Yes, please.
so I understand why some people cannot apply to multiple schools because as we know, the application process is very, very costly. Like to be able to apply to even just one school. If one school says their application is $60, $100, you'll be spending thousands of Ghana cedis by the time you are done applying. Given that you would even face other issues like the exchange rate is against you, uh, you would have to go back and forth between you and your department, given your relationship with your professors and all of that. So I understand why some people cannot do multiple schools. It is the best to do multiple schools. I would highly advise that if you can do multiple schools, you should do that. But a lot of times, certain people cannot. So the best thing to do is to balance between sometimes you do a safe school, a school that you know that your chances of getting in are higher than another school that is more of like a reach, one that if you get in, it aligns more with what you want to do and all of that. So for me personally, I applied to just one school in Canada. I applied to just one school in Canada, and I did it in what uh, getting to the deadline of application. I submitted, and I heard from them in 2 weeks, and then I also kind of knew that, oh, okay, this was it. Yeah. So apply as many as you can, but some people are constrained, so I do understand why they cannot. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems Nana, you have a lucky this thing with 2 weeks. It seems that everything that has to do with you is in 2 weeks. Your application was yet back from them in 2 weeks, and your visa too also took 2 weeks.
Oh,
But
another
guys,
interesting
remember
He's
that
thing
that
is
not
that
guy.
all of
He's
us
that
are lucky
guy.
like
He's that
Nana.
guy.
so
He's
another
that guy.
Yeah, he's
interesting thing
that
is
guy,
that
right?
my
So
passport was even expiring around
in two
that
weeks.
same time. Yeah, and I also got a new passport in 2 weeks.
Oh my God, this is amazing. So, guys, please, let's remember that not all of us are lucky like Nana. Yours may take a month or two, but at the end of the day, getting in is the most important thing, right? So Nana, I'll come back to you. I think we are going to wrap up. I think our time is up. But then, what strategies help you manage money? Like, what is the realistic picture that you can draw for students who are coming to Canada? Like in terms of money, all this funding that they are going to receive. Is it gonna be like all fanfare and like that, or it comes with a bit of struggle? Do you have anything to say about that?
It comes with a bit of struggle.
Of
That
course it
can be.
does.
Well, when you are coming to when you are traveling outside, the usual notion is that, oh, you can work and pay your fees. But when you come here, the reality on the ground is that it is unrealistic to come here with zero, thinking you can uh work and pay your fees. Because, for example, even finding a job takes time, and then if you are going to be working to pay your fees, the time you use to study to have good program outcomes, uh, there is the same time that you are using to look for the money to pay for the fees. So it is almost like you are looking for money to pay for something that you will not really make use of. So yeah, your funding usually in Canada isn't as generous as US. We've mentioned this a couple of times. Mine was more than my tuition, which means that regardless of how much you are getting, after you pay your fees, whatever you have will not be enough to pay for rent, living expenses, and every other thing. I mean, in Canada, you need money for everything. Even if you are even going to uh, get your SIM card and the basic things you will not even think of. Getting some basic documents, you will still have to pay something small here and there. So one thing I would ask you to do is that right from the beginning, try and minimize your expenses to the necessities. Because when you come, there will be a lot of flashy things that you can easily get. Some people just come, oh, I can go and get this phone, I can go and get this laptop. And then by the time they realize they have too much of a financial burden trying to impress people who are not even looking at them. Because outside over here, nobody cares if you're using iPhone 17. Everybody can have iPhone 17. So yeah, you need to manage your finances well. Aside that, you can start applying to jobs quickly. You shouldn't work too much because that's unrealistic. It will impact your education. But during the summer and stuff like that, you can uh, get jobs that would, I mean, add something small. And maybe if you are almost done with your courses, you can be doing maybe 10, 20 hours a week and then try and get some extra money to support your funding. Yeah.
So I'm allowed for Philip to chip in with this one, but I think we've run out of time. So Philip, settling in final advice, settling in Canada, and some final advice that you have for our students who are listening to you tonight.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody who has been with us right from the onset. I think Nana said everything. I used to watch his status. He has this anthem that he usually posts. Life hard, life hard. Yeah,
Life
and
hack.
it made me understand it's not easy because when I was coming, my funding, as I said earlier on, if I should look at the entire study duration, it's like my tuition and all other fees minus living expenses was just exactly my funding. So when I was coming here, my accommodation and feeding was quite an issue for me. So I had to come with some money to pay with, I mean, to pay for my first at least 2 months rent. So I came with some money because looking for a job takes time because of that friction, right? Um, because I'm not even working as at now. I still don't work. But fortunately for me, there were some other college-wide funding that I got, which was able to help me pay my tuition right away. So the monies from my TA-ship and all of that, I was able to use that to manage my rents and then feeding and all of that. Yeah, so it's not easy. It's not easy. That is why right from the onset, you have to make sure you are putting in a very competitive application that will help you get funding. Because if you don't have funding and you manage to come, right, the reality will hit you hard, like really hard. You would have to work. You would have to work because that is the only way you can pay your fees. And you sacrificing longer hours of work is economics. You know that trade-off. Everything we do is about trading off one thing for the other. So once you work more, it impacts your academics. So if you don't get funding and then you're able to come through, maybe you showed a very good bank statement and you got approved one way or the other, you are really going to be stressed. Like, men that was so very shit, seriously. Because I
Whenever
know,
we use tree, it means that it's serious.
yeah, like
Is
men
it trivia?
that
It means that it's
it's hard,
becoming
like it's
serious.
hard, it's hard, it's
Mazu, the
really,
reality is hard though.
it's hard.
I know, please
Yeah,
tell them, me, I'm
it's
tired of
hard.
saying it.
Seriously, it's hard. Yeah. So
Okay.
funding should be your priority. If you're not rich, funding should be your. If you can, because I have friends here who spend Ghana cedis. Yeah, they are here in Canada, but they spend Ghana cedis. It should tell you. I mean, they are quite dusted, right? But if you are not like them, really make funding your priority. If not, settling in will be very, very difficult. Yeah, and then it's been smooth so far. Yeah, because I said earlier on, I had additional funding and all of that. Yeah, my college is very rich. That one there, I really have to say it.
Okay, that's a plus. Okay.
So we
Thank you
should,
so
we
much,
should.
Philip.
Yeah,
Thank you
yeah.
so much, Philip. And Lana, I would like you to also give your final advice, but then I think we have a question here. I think this is to the both of you, the one who can help us answer this. When you use your uncle as a sponsor, how do you convince IRCC that indeed your uncle will indeed fund your education? I think this has to do with the letter of intent, right? Nana or Philip, who will take this one?
I can take it. But so I'm supposed to address this before we talk about the final advice. Okay. So
Yes, please. Yes.
me personally, I use my grandfather, which is in line with this. But I also use my father. So an interesting thing is to let them know why it makes sense for him to fund you, right? Let them know why it makes sense for him to fund you. For me, I use my grandfather, and then I made the case that I lived with him while I was growing up, and he already kind of sees me as a son. And in order to make the application make sense, my father was also on the like his funding details was also on the document. So what I would say is to make the link, show them why your uncle would want to sponsor you, not just because he's your uncle. Let them know that because of this, because of that. Some people say it's a family thing where they help each other so that they can, when you are also there, you can help the younger generation in the family. That's one thing I know. But some people lie, some people are not truthful, and then they just make up stories, and then it comes to not just bite them in the ass, it affects all of us who apply in future. Yes. And most importantly, having funding from the school makes it less dicey to bet on someone who is being funded by his uncle because they know that you still have the school adding up to you. So that's what I would say.
Okay, that's important. Thank you so much. I think Ellen mentioned affidavit of sponsorship. What is that? Does that have anything to do with the letter of intent? Is it something that you can add to the letter when you write it?
Would Philip want to address this?
I saw in the comment
Okay.
section, Ellen
Yeah.
mentioned affidavit of sponsorship. Is it something that you know about?
Yeah. It's just normal affidavit. Kind of, you want to go extra further to show that, yes, kind of
Okay, like a proof,
making it
right?
legal. Yeah, making it legal that,
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Like exhibit one to make sure that
ex
everything is in
yeah,
order.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
And
Thank you
then
so
with
much, Philip.
the family thing, right? I also use a complete stranger, someone I don't know, but it's all about you making a very strong case and then showing proofs, right? Because the person that I used the statement for my application, she's not my family member. I don't know her anywhere, right? But then I was able to make a case. And then because Canada, the application, no interview and everything, you have to put in your best. Everything that you say, if you have documents, you really have to show. proof, attach proofs, documents. Even if you can show messages of screenshots from maybe fans from this person, this your uncle, or maybe he's been doing it in the past, so it's not even difficult for him to do it now, right? What evidence do you have that this person has supported you in the past? Like these people, Obroni, small things matters to them. Things that we will blatantly ignore, these people like really take it serious. Yeah, so anything that you can add to show that this person has really done it before and will do it again, and anything that you think in your own mind, in your own understanding will make the application strong, I would advise that you add it.
Okay, thank you so much. And Anna, I think you will give your final advice. But then, as they mentioned advice, please advise. I said advice, sorry. Evidence is very important. Even in the US, when you're applying for the permanent residency, it's all about evidence. It's all about evidence. If you've done something, they call it exhibit. You just have to add all the evidences that you have at your disposal, and it will help to make your, application very competitive. So please, you guys should try and make sure that you put in a very competitive application and make sure that your document is well tight so that you can get this visa. It's very important so that you can continue education. So Nana, you have any final advice? Then we wrap it up, please. Like in 1 minute, please. 1 minute.
Okay, final advice is that when you are coming here, you should understand your why, the reason why you want to come here. Because, as I said, the journey is tough. You are starting a new life in a new place. So, in the beginning, you face a lot of frictions. Financial stress will come in, academic stress, learning in a new country, distance from family. Your friends are not here. You have to make new friends. And some of us are lucky, some of our friends from Ghana are joining us. So you can now form a family here. But what I would say is understand your why you are embarking on this journey and keep it in mind. So it motivates you to go the extra mile and go through this difficult journey so you can benefit from uh, the future things that would come up here. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you guys so much. And it's an honor to have you both. And I think our guests are also happy that they joined this session. It was really fruitful and
Uh,
insightful. And thank you so
Philip will
much.
also
And
chip in, right?
you
Yeah,
said?
yeah, yeah. It's
Philip
it's
will
just
chip
it's,
in
it's
with his
just more
Oh
final
like
yeah, Philip. Okay, I thought he had his final, but if you have anything to say,
Nano said you said
uh-huh.
everything, right? But you
Okay,
are coming
okay,
here. I don't know
okay.
whether you want to go back or not, but if
Oh,
you really have
please
a
don't say that.
serious
I will talk
relationship,
about that later.
if you have a serious relationship, you have to plan with your woman or your man. Mu nyinaa mu
Oh, I
japa
Hey,
mpo.
see.
why Philip is
Mhm.
your woman here?
I
Oh,
beg,
I see.
I
I
don't
see.
know,
So
but
guys,
Charlie,
please try and
like,
bring
Hey,
your
where is
woman
your
yeah,
here.
woman?
bro.
Guys, please let's wrap it up. And so thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you. So hopefully next week on Economics Weekly, we are going to have Emmanuel Kudum, who is going to present his research with us. He has a very interesting research in uh, I think in education, and he uses a fixed effects, a GMM model. So hopefully, if you are interested in learning anything about fixed effects or GMM, I would like to have you join us next week. So thank you guys so much, and I wish you all a very good weekend. Bye bye. Nana, thank you so much.
Thank
Philip,
you
thank
guys.
you. We
Bye,
appreciate you
bye,
so
bye,
much.
bye,
Thank you
bye.
so much. Bye bye.